most people here are already familiar with how our AMAs work. But first, I just want to say welcome to, I think this is our ninth AMA now that we've done. Because we had a couple stacked for a couple months. So it looked pretty good. Um, First of all, I'm Ryan. I am in the Discord as Ryan G. Uh, Basically, I am here for you all to come and join us and have a nice conversation, have a whole bunch of fun, and just enjoy talking about VR. Tons of games are coming out on MetaQuest from here to the future. But we also encourage everybody to come in and just talk about all things VR. It's a lot of fun. Um, and welcome everybody who is popping in. Good to see you all. So to give you an idea of how our AMAs work, I don't technically do Q&As. I tend to like to have full-on conversations with folks. So you will find that this is pretty free-flowing conversation. If you have any questions during this session here, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and we will actually go through and start grabbing ones that we can answer and that are relevant to the conversations that we're having. Hey Beavis, I see him in there. Silver, Andy's VR reviews. Good to see you. One of the newest members of our MetaQuest Creator Program. Jadon and Joy are also in the program. Obviously, Eric here is in the program.
I think we
Um,
got Machete in here now too.
oh, do we? Wow,
Yeah.
the names are flowing in, so I'm trying to keep up on all of you. Um, so just to keep it also for you to keep in mind, after our session today, we will actually be having a play session from 2 to 4 Pacific, so pretty much immediately after, and we will be playing Iron Strike, which is also a part of the Summerfest free weekend, which starts you can go into the store and get the game for an hour for free starting 3 p.m. your local time. And yeah, so Eric's here. He's one of our MetaQuest Creator Program members. From the beginning, I think you've been there pretty much from the start, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I came about a month after. There were 12 folks in the first month, and they were kind of like the initial round, and then 8 or 9 of us came in right after. So by the end of that month, we were up to I think 19. So yeah, kind of one of the forerunners. Now I think we're at 70 creators in the creator program now.
We
I'm
technically
losing track this week because we've had some really good new faces come in.
Yes, we do have some new folks that came in, like Andy here. Yeah, I think we're up to like 70, 72 now. It's
Maybe,
quite a
yeah.
quite a few. And yeah, if you are also a creator, and you may want to try to be a part of the MQCP, or if you just want to make some really cool content and hang out with other creators, please share your details, your channels, your content, everything in our VR content creators channel. We'll make sure that you get a tag and everything like that, and you can also join our Creators Lounge channel and just work with each other, share ideas, ask for help, feedback on all your stuff. It's really cool. Um, so Eric, what can you actually tell us about your channel?
Before I get to my channel, a really important question came up in chat I want to
Oh,
address first. Someone asked about GTA San Andreas, and I just wanted to let everybody know that yes, I have played GTA San Andreas using UEVR.
okay. You were almost setting me up there. I was about to have a panic attack. Um, I had no idea what to do there. Um, but yeah, and that is actually a really cool mod overall. I really
It
enjoy it.
is.
Um, but yeah, so what can you tell us about your channel?
Sure. My channel is really 99.9% focused on VR and AR content. So I post at least 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's usually gameplay, but sometimes it'll be like diving into new hardware, diving into things like Meta Haptic Studio is one that I played with a lot. Some of the different developer tools that are available, just to kind of highlight what's out there, not just to get people interested in playing with VR, but also potentially making and creating with VR as well. Because I think it's important that as a community, we're highlighting both the experiences that we have as players, but also the accomplishments that developers are really achieving with this content. Because VR is something that's very different than a standard PC game, for example. You have that immersive world around you. Stella, that's in chat, actually was one of the people that won one of my Quest 2s that I gave away as a creator. And uh, one of the things that she had mentioned to me was the fact that she felt like she was in a different place or a different world. And that's really what VR does. So I do my best. It's very hard in a flat representation to present VR content, but I do my best to not necessarily go into the experience and be super energetic and just try to go in and be myself and explore, and hope that that catches someone's eye, and that they feel compelled to explore for themselves.
Well, and I mean, even with that, one of the big things that you mentioned there was being able to be somewhere else, go to a different world, a different almost plane of existence sometimes for some of these things. What are some of the games that you feel accomplish that the most? Or
Uh,
not even games, travel,
yeah,
all
yeah,
that
sure.
kind of stuff?
I think one of the ones that really surprised me was the National Geographic application.
Mm,
There's two experiences in it. One goes to Antarctica and the other goes to Machu Picchu. And it's basically like you just kind of do some simple interactions. You row a kayak for a short period of time, you climb a ladder, but it's mostly photography. You
mhm,
have to go to specific spots in these areas and do photography. And it was really well done. And it's one that I still think about a lot, that is available on Quest, and was one of the first Quest releases, I believe.
mhm,
So when the original Quest came out, and so it was one of the first things I tried on Quest, and it was one that was just like, wow, this is really good. One that I go back to all the time is Tetris Effect. It's
mhm,
now called Tetris Effect Connected. They have what I would describe as the most unique multiplayer setup in that it's cross-platform and also literally cross-platform. Like you can play on PC, you can play on console, you can play in VR all at the same time.
definitely.
And there's no need for voice chat, so you're playing with people from all different countries and you're working together. And it's just
Yeah,
it's something that I really love. And on Saturdays they have this like called the Dark Side of the Moon event.
mhm.
And I always try to play a little bit of that each week, which is really cool because you never know who's going to pop in from where for it. It's really cool to just, even though I'm not talking to them face to face, I feel like I'm connected and working together with someone. And they do this really cool thing where they say like what country you're from and what platform you're on right on the screen, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was, I'm a big fan of Enhance overall.
Oh yeah, me
So
too.
yeah, Tetris Effect Connected was great. We actually had them on, an AMA just a little bit ago, and, we had a play session, and it was a lot of fun, but I hadn't done a lot of online playing with people, unless I've been in, like, private chats, so I'm used to
Hmm.
still talking.
Right.
Um but I remember that one, it was so confusing because nobody was talking to each other, I couldn't figure out why. And then I was like, "Oh, that's right, there's no actual voice chat." But you're right, like, Tetris Effect, man, that was one of those games, and still is. I think a lot of people still go back to it more than, a lot of the other games they
Yeah.
play.
And then for other social stuff, if you want to have a good conversation with someone, Walkabout Mini Golf is great for it. And then Power Wash Simulator is also really good because it's just a chill environment and you don't really have to finish the level. Like you can do whatever you want and just have a conversation if you're playing multiplayer. It's really good.
Yeah, Walkabout was one of those ones that, I've introduced some people to, and the cool thing about it is you can get into a normal course and have fun and play, and then you start getting into those crazy courses, and you start to realize what VR can really do. And Upside Down was the first one when I was like, "This is exactly what VR is for right
PS4,
here."
yeah. The
Beavis,
the
what's
one that the one that was really trippy for me was, the Labyrinth course has a hole that is just, like, completely out of this world. It was
yeah.
really good.
Yeah, that one was really good. And you mentioned not even like you don't even have to finish a course. I mean, the other day I was playing with a Ninja Guy and Beavis here in the chat, and I think Ninja Guy had to bounce out, but like during the time he was there, like everybody was having a ton of fun. I mean, I've bounced out of a couple too. But yeah, it really is like the social thing. I don't know if you played when we had the 32 player lobby open. Um
Oh, man, no, that would have been amazing.
We managed to finish it, some of us. The game was taking, like, 3 hours long on
Oh, I'm
the
sure.
Around the World in 80 Days.
Oh,
Um,
nice. That's a
that
good
was
one
really
too.
fun. Yeah. You know, honestly too, you know, kind of the question is, you know, when you're reaching out to a friend or somebody, they come over and they're like, "Okay, what's this VR thing about?" Or you say, like, "You totally have to try VR," and they never have. What are, like what are the top 3 experiences that you share with them right off the bat?
Um, Typically, I will share Tilt Brush, or Open Brush now because that's the more modern version. Space Pirate Trainer, or if we have a big enough space, a two-player and do Space Pirate Arena because it's really good for that.
Mhm,
And it depends on the person otherwise. Sometimes it'll be Beat Saber, sometimes it'll be something a little bit less motion. I tend to also, if somebody's really into platformers, give them something like Moss. I haven't done it yet, but Max Mustard is another really good platformer. The only thing that concerns me about platformers is sometimes because there is still kind of some artificial locomotion with the character movement in front of you, it
true.
kind of trips people out a bit. So I try to give them things that are like gateways to VR, if that makes sense, where you're controlling the motion yourself.
So you don't torture people with Richie's Plank experience and roller
Yeah,
coasters.
coaster combat. Yeah, not no, not for first timers.
W when okay, so actually that leads into another question. First, what was your very first VR experience?
The first VR experience I tried was actually Darknet, which is by E. McNeil. And that particular title was at PAX West, where I'm going in
Mhm,
a couple of weeks actually, in the Indie Mega Booth, which was this giant conglomeration of independent studios. And I just remember it was like one of the first VR things that was there. There was a line a mile long, and I only put the headset on for maybe less than a minute, and I was like, I walked away. I was like, it was a cool experience, but it was on the DK2, I believe. It might have even been DK1 at the
mhm,
time, and it was a little rough around the edges. And since then, like, great game. I've played it on multiple platforms. Um, but it was kind of like, I don't know if I like this thing. And then I tried another experience at another convention called Nostrum, which I don't think ever came out.
mhm.
It was like a flight exploration social game, which was very ambitious, and that might be why it didn't come out. I'm not sure. Um, and it was a little too confusing. And again, it was kind of like I'll look through the headset with the headset sitting down here. I don't know if I feel all that comfortable wearing it. And the thing that really got me into VR was actually the Google Cardboard at
Mhm,
Google's Google I/O one year. They handed them out to people. And I was in the area. I was not invited to I/O or anything, but I was kind of just walking through the area, and somebody was like, "Hey, you want to check this out?" And I tried it, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool, actually." I got one of those, and I started playing with some things on my smartphone. Played a game called Proton Pulse, was kind of the big one, which was like a almost like a Breakout or Arkanoid, where you are the paddle.
mhm.
Um, and then the big thing that actually sold me on VR was I did a demo with the Vive Dev Kit on the back of a semi truck down in San Diego during San Diego Comic-Con, and they did the blue tilt brush and the aperture robot repair portion of the lab.
Hmm.
And what the three things that kind of sold me on it is I started painting in tilt brush. Like the blue, I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool, whatever. And then I started painting in tilt brush, and I could see the 3D effect. And I don't, when I watch 3D movies just with 3D glasses or what have you, I don't really see that 3D depth. Kind of
Hmm.
just see like the edges or the lines.
Yeah.
So this was like the first time I ever really truly saw something in 3 dimensions. Was painting a flower or something in tilt brush, and it just like I came out of the demo, and Michelle, who's in chat, and like I was in tears coming out of the demo. She's like, "What's wrong with you? Like what happened?" Because it was like a huge emotional thing for me.
Hmm.
Um, and the Vive had like a whole room scale thing going at the time, like when it was just a really unique experience. That's what really was like, "This is something I wanna do."
That was your stamp of approval right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember early VR was interesting. The first experience I had was with with the very first Rift. It was at GDC. Man, what was it? Oh, shoot, I want to say like it's like 13, maybe
Probably.
before that. And I remember sitting down at a table and putting it on, and it was still when controllers were being used.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember playing Hawken, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I started to get really nauseous because you got to keep in mind this was early before a lot of that like fine tuning happened,
Yeah, it was also
and
60 hertz, which is
it it
kinda
was
yeah,
it was
rough.
fine until you jumped, and
Yes.
that was it. Um, but yeah, that was like my first experience, and same like you, it's like that first one when you get that feeling, you're like, might not be for me. And then yeah, you start hitting other experiences, and it's just like, oh, I'm totally set. Um, so yeah, I've followed the same path that you have been in. I think the one that really got me, like 100% was actually Super Hot.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
That was they had a special stage set up. I forgot who it was at the time, but it was one where like the stage started and it was like the person was right in front of you, like inches away, and you're like, "Oh, okay." It caught you. Um, but so if you had never touched VR before, and kind of flipping the question that I had asked you before, what do you wish with all the games that are out now? So let's say this is today, and you would never touch VR. What are the three games that you wish somebody would show, or the three experiences somebody you wish somebody would show you?
Mm.
With and not counting the three you already said.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Um, this is gonna probably sound like cheesy meta sellout, but I think Asgard's Wrath 2 is a really, really good and powerful game, and it's one that like just really it's a lot of my interests and mold. Um, Elite Dangerous is another one. Um,
Mhm.
just the vast space exploration and the things you can do in that game are amazing. Um, and I'm kind of struggling with the third. There's a few, but I kind of feel like I've recently been playing a lot of Arcade Paradise VR, and just the like mundane pieces and the 90s nostalgia, 80s nostalgia style. It just it's another one that just kind of like brings me back to my youth. I think that would be the three.
How much laundry can you do? Um,
Exactly.
I
In
did.
whatever many hours it is for the shift. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And anyone in the chat, let us know what some of your favorite, VR titles are, or ones that you wish people had shown you on their first shot. Um, so when you aren't making content for your channel and you just want to jump into something for like a leisure time, that's not game related. So we're definitely talking about just like experiential apps, travel. meditation, wellness, anything like that. What are a couple of your favorite non-gaming kind of chill type games?
I really like uh it's seasonal, but there's this virtual market thing that happens in VR chat on usually 2 to 3 times a year. And what they do is they build what they call gets photo real or something like that worlds that are like little cities, little sections of like Tokyo, or there was a Dubai one this time. There's like different places in the world that I've not been, obviously. And I love going into those because people created that world. Like it's not like they just took some pictures and put them out there. Like they went out there and they hand built that with whatever tools they had available to them. And VR chats, of course, evolved over time. I think their system software now is called Udon. Um, so it's like a little bit more plug and play than it used to be. They have some more powerful tool set as well. But I just love going there and just walking around. And I usually do it in a non-social way. I usually go in and just drop myself into my own private world and just go look at what people built. So that's one that is huge for me because and honestly, this last summer one I was a little disappointed in, so I didn't actually cover it on my channel. But most of them have just really been like you can walk into one of the buildings and suddenly Godzilla jumps out at you and you have this whole like experience with him. There was one that was a cup noodle where you battled this huge monster cup noodle at the end to take back the cup noodle factory. Like just crazy stuff that
Right.
people created. And some of it's kind of like advertising, but a lot of it is really just people trying to create something for their own enjoyment that other people will also enjoy. And that's what I really appreciate about it.
Exactly. Oh, that's cool. One of my favorites, honestly, that I go back to all the time is did you ever check out, and I know some people are probably tired of me saying this because every time this topic comes up, but have you tried the Cirque du Soleil um,
I have,
experience?
yeah.
That one
And
I thought was cool.
there's actually a couple of them. There were, I don't know if there still are, but are you talking about the acrobatics one?
Um, I was talking about the free one
Yeah,
that
yeah,
had like
yeah.
five different shows
Yep.
from
Okay,
all the
yeah, yeah,
names.
that's the
Yeah,
one. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that one's
yeah.
right.
Really love the underwater
Yes,
portion. That was so good.
that's really good.
One of my favorite, I think, was from I think it was Curios. And like when you're standing there and everything's going on around you, they did such a good job in all of these about actually making it look like each character, no matter which way you look, is looking at you. And it was so weird to me at first because I was in a sitting position. And so I was a little lower than everybody. They looked like they were like
Yeah,
looking down on me. But yeah, it's that I think that's one of those ones that I go back to all the time. And
yeah,
if anybody in the chat um gives it a shot, which I highly recommend, make sure you download the videos and
yeah,
not stream them.
yeah. I have done the stream piece. You please trust Ryan on that. You definitely want to download it before you watch it. Um, that made me think of another one that's really good is Amaze VR does concert experiences
Mhm.
that they actually like do facial imaging of the artists that are doing the concert, whether it's a musician or like the dancers backing them up, things of that nature. And
Mhm.
they put some immersive elements into it, but it's like you're having like a private concert directly in front of you. Like you're
Right.
basically at the edge of the stage, which is really cool.
Yeah, let's see. What are some of the folks talking about that they have played? So we have What the Bat, Ninja Guy of VR says that that was his system seller. Um,
Nice. I really like all of the Tri-Band games actually. I'm hoping that they've got What the Car right now, which they're working on. I'm hoping that they'll bring that to VR. I don't know if they will. I don't have this is not like I have foreknowledge or I literally don't know anything about it. But that one's really fun, and I think that's one they might bring in the future because it has the hook that could probably get it into VR as well.
yeah, What the Bat was ridiculous and so much fun.
Yep.
It's definitely one of my favorite silly games. We have Blast On, of course, a great title. Farpoint, I remember. I haven't played that in so long.
That
Um,
was one of the ones that was really good with the aim controller on PlayStation VR.
Oh, yeah, I remember the big, like, you could have
It was
almost
like
made it out of
almost
PVC
like the
pipe.
triangle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was actually a lot of fun. Walkabout mini golf, of course. Like, if somebody didn't say walkabout mini golf, I would almost be offended at that point. Um, Moss, besides Rec Room from Beavis, besides Rec Room, my first real social experience was venues, is what hooked me on VR. Horizon, honestly, Horizon Worlds is a lot of fun, especially when you start watching concerts in there and
Yeah,
various
for sure.
like I really love the Post Malone concert. That was great. Um and then let's see, what would be cool? Somebody walk about. I get cool. Yeah, so like let's get a little bit more into kind of your content creation
Sure.
overall in your channel. What got you started? What, like, really kinda kicked your tires and made you
Uh,
think, "This is the thing that I wanna do?"
I didn't want to be a VR YouTuber. So I really liked that Vive experience that I described earlier. And there was an IGN contest where you could like write an essay basically, and they chose 20 people to go to the Steam VR developer showcase in Seattle. Now, Valve expected it to be all people from Seattle, um, but people wanted VR. So almost everybody flew themselves in for this event. And as one of the things that you got out of it, you got a Vive free about 2 months before the general public got a Vive. Um, this was in the days when the Rift was not out yet, the Vive was not out yet. So I had this system with lighthouses and a bunch of stuff just like in my kitchen and in my living room from time to time. I'd have people that were friends come over and try it. But at some point in the conversation with the folks at Valve, because we were actually doing beta testing for them, we were some of the first people that had it in our homes that were not Valve employees. So it's like, this is a good use case. And one of the things that we helped solve for, yes, sadly, is Bradley was with me at that contest. Beavis, thanks for shouting him out. Um, so yeah, we were both at that same showcase. The One of the things that happened was they encouraged us to start sharing our experiences. Some of us created YouTube channels. So Brad had a YouTube channel, I think about might have been Dota 2, maybe. And it slowly evolved and turned into more VR stuff. I had 3 videos on my channel that were about my experience in line at the Star Wars celebration in Anaheim several years prior, and that was it. That was my YouTube content prior. And I started posting stuff, sharing my experiences with the Vive. And then I started getting into other VR segments. I got a Gear VR Innovator Edition and started playing with some of the stuff on there. Got a Rift, got touch controllers for the Rift because, as you said, Rift originally was just an Xbox controller, and that was basically it.
Yeah,
And just kind of went from there. And in the beginning, I didn't have any type of set schedule or anything of that nature. It was right before Easter when everything was coming out. And so my wife and I did East VR weekend, where we just had like 7 or 8 hours of content that we just played and showed people what was coming, basically. And it just evolved from there.
it's
It's
great.
been about 9 years now.
Oh, man. Forgot sometimes you forget how long VR has actually really been around. It's like consumer VR for the most
Yeah.
part has been around, and it's almost mind-boggling, like, when you think about how long you've been involved. Um, so when you're creating your content, Um, kinda how do you plan it? How do you like, you're sitting down, you have a new topic. What's your process?
So I tend to plan out about a month to a month and a half at a time. Um, as someone that follows the industry pretty closely and as someone that's part of the creator program, have a pretty rough idea of what the schedule is going to be of things that might be upcoming, whether I'm seeing game trailers or whether like I've talked directly to the developers, things of that nature. I know that there's going to be things coming like summer months, you're going to have these particular titles. Winter months, you're going to have these particular titles. And what I try to do is I look at both what was App Lab. I think this week it's going away. It's going to just be part of the main store. So I'll look at App Lab, or I think it's experimental is now what they're calling it, on the Quest store. I'll look at things like itch.io. I'll look to see is there a Steam Next Fest coming up, things of that nature, because I always try to find things that are like rough around the edges, early access. I try to cover a couple of those every month. I try to cover at least 3, sometimes 5 new titles that are coming out on main stores, whether it be Steam or Quest, every month. And then some of those experiential things. And just some of them are limited time only, so I'll try to like really hone in on like this week I need to make sure I cover this. But I look at content that is, I don't want to say completely nonviolent, but things that are not like you're shooting people. Because there was an experience pretty early on that I did a beta test for that was a Planet of the Apes experience where you played an ape, and in the beginning it's kind of fun. Like you to basically be Donkey Kong. You're like swinging from pipes and things of that nature. And then you pick up what they called the monkey calls a spear, but it's a rifle, and you start shooting people, and it freaked me out. Um, I just was not into it. So mostly I stay away from like first person shooter style things. Not entirely. Like I love games like Pistol Whip. Um, I've been playing a lot of On Point, which recently came out in early access. Like there are shooter games that I will play, but it's mostly like cartoony things, not realistic things. So like less violent experiences is what I would describe. Less blood, less violence, for the most part. Uh, but I will structure out, like I said, about 4 to 6 weeks at a time. I try to make sure that my content's around 10 to 15 minutes for each of my videos. I do occasionally do shorter form things. It's
Mhm.
usually mixed reality stuff that I do, that are shorter form. And I try to make it a habit to do mixed reality content outside of my house where there's a bit of space. So we have a public library that's got a really nice conference room that you can just kind of rent for free. I
Mhm.
usually go there, and do some mixed reality content, and I'll do a block of that content at once and then distribute that out like a week at a time, like once a week for a few weeks. Um, I tend to use MetaQuest Developer Hub for content capture, and I stream directly to the PC with my camera, similar to what you're seeing right now for my face cam, and then the feed to MetaQuest Developer Hub, they have a casting window. It's like a preview window. I just
Mhm.
grab from that in cinematic mode. The reason I use cinematic is because it shows you almost an extension of exactly what you're seeing in headset, which is brilliant, and I'm really thankful that the team was able to get that going, because we had asked for it forever. So having that is really valuable as a content creator because people are finally able to see what I see and not a shrunken down or cropped version of that.
Cool. That sounds great. Next, kind of now that you have gone into creating and you've joined, the MetaQuest Creator Program, and for those of you who don't know, like we mentioned, our numbers are definitely growing. But these are the members in our program are actually a lot of members that you all trust, that you check out on YouTube, TikTok, all the various places, some Twitch and some the even on Facebook and all over the place. And these are folks that you all do it for out of the passion for VR that you have. You're always showing that you guys all show off like the greatest games. the newest titles, and some you guys have some really cool experiences as well. And honestly, since it's been great to kind of be a part of it and watch you all like achieve your goals and continue to expand on your goals. Um, what has been a couple of your favorite experiences
In the
within the
program?
creator program? Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, we also have kind of some community playtime just within the creator program, and we've done some really good play sessions where, particularly when it's new creators that have recently joined the program, just going in and meeting them really for the first time and having a conversation. Those are some really meaningful moments for me. And the first year of the program, we actually had a trip out here. I'm in the Bay Area, in San Francisco area, and Burlingame has a Meta campus, and they also now have a Meta store. So everyone actually from within the program was invited to come out for the opening of the Meta store. So I got to see some folks that I'd seen at conferences or I'd seen in different events in the past. We all got to kind of come together, and that was a really cool experience. It was when the program was a lot smaller, um, so I'm excited for upcoming events where hopefully I'll see even more of a crowd of the folks from the program, because those actual in-person and even online sessions where we're actually like in an environment together are really the most special times for me, man.
Cool. And as you are on this path within the program and just generally creating content, Ninja Guy actually had a question that he asked just before we went live was what are your main current goals as a VR content creator?
My goals have actually never changed since the first day I started. I really I don't care how many people are subscribed, how many people are watching. I care to share my experiences in hopes that someone will see something that they like, that will inspire them to either pick up a headset and play something or pick up a headset and create something. Um, because I love this community. I mean, more than most anything else, like this community is amazing. And I want to see it continue to grow. So I want to see more people out there creating content. Like Ninja Guy is awesome. I've seen him making stuff too. And see more people, trying it out for themselves. That's how I end every one of my videos. Get out there and try VR for yourself. Like I really want people to have the have an experience. It might be the way it was for the two of us when we both first started VR, where it's like, I don't know if this is for me. Or they might pick something up and really gravitate toward it and really, find something to do with the technology that helps them in some way. And that's really what the goal of my channel is. Like I would do that with or without a channel, but that's really what drives me to create this content.
Cool. Well, there you go, Ninja Guy. He was very eager to ask that question.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, and I mean, Ninja Guy definitely. Eric here's right. Like your content's great. I don't think anybody can rock a big tie like you can. I'm sorry.
So true.
And that is totally like your amazing gimmick. And you do great interviews. So, keep that kind of stuff up. Your content's really, really good. Um, so now kind of just getting back into what you enjoy and all that. What are your favorite types of VR events to meet up at or just take part in?
In VR or in general?
No, I mean it can be in VR as well.
Mm.
I'm like thinking of like meetups and stuff. And
Sure.
I mean, yeah, VR, you can totally have meetups anywhere you want in
Yeah.
the world.
Um, so yeah, I've that's hard because like we have local meetups. So we have SVVR is
Hmm.
our local kind of chapter, Silicon Valley Virtual Reality. Um, is a group that been around forever, really. And I pop in and out here and there from their group, and it's just really good to go to that event because it's a cross section of developers, enthusiasts, and just people making things for themselves.
Yeah.
You can go one time and see somebody that's got a completely like hand built headset, and then another time you'll see people with like the huge commercial things. And it's really cool to see kind of that cross section. It's a little smaller group. I like not being in a 30 to 40,000 person place, so I like that. A big VR event that I go to, VR related event is AWE.
Hmm.
Augmented World Expo. I did skip this year because they moved to Long Beach and it just didn't work with my calendar. But I met Jadon at an AWE one time. So like there's a ton of people that go to that event that have the same type of interests. So that's why I like going to that more so. Like I usually know most of the stuff that's being exhibited. I usually go to the people. And then the big one is always Connect. So Meta Connect, formerly known as Oculus Connect, and I guess Facebook Connect for a while, um, was at a time where I really got to know content creators as well as the folks at Meta for the first time. I went to Oculus Connect for not as a person attending, but just to go socialize in hotel lobbies. And then at OC5, it's kind of Quest's big coming out party. And I hung out with the content creators and really bonded with folks. And that's kind of what pulled me into the content creator circle a bit. I did a breakfast at OC6, I believe, where I tried to get as many people that made video content about VR together as possible. And I think we had 31 people. So it was a really good experience, and it's really nice that you know I've not met a terrible person in the VR community. Like among the content creators, among the developers, among the hardware developers, like it's all people that are very technology minded, but also very diverse and unique. There, I don't meet a lot of people that have the same set of goals in the VR industry. I mean,
Right.
developers want to make money, I'm sure. But in general, like everybody's got different interests and everyone has that one glue factor of I'm interested in this technology, I'm passionate about this technology. What are we going to do with it? So
Right.
I go to a lot of events, but those are the ones that I think are kind of the highlights for VR for me.
Yeah, I think yeah, I've been trying to get to the SVVR ones more often. I think the last one I was at was you were there. You and I had
Yeah,
talked. Was that was that GDC?
it was like right after GDC. Yeah,
Yeah. And that was great. Like you had like director for Lawnmower Man there,
yeah,
and and it was that one was really cool because there are a lot of like video game legends who were there
in the
who are like
room. Yeah,
yeah, who are stepping into VR. One that was always a great person to talk to, and he's super approachable and loves to talk to everybody is David Fox. And
yeah,
for those who don't know who David Fox is, he was one of the original creators of the Monkey Island games. I think one of the main three actually.
yeah.
He also worked on Thimbleweed Park for the more the more current games, and now he's working on a Rube Goldberg game that is really good, and I think it might be. I'm not sure if it's an App Lab or not. But that was a
Is it
really cool one.
is it the one that's actually called Rube Goldberg, or
Yeah,
is it a different one? I think it
I
is an App Lab. Yeah,
I actually, is it? Oh shoot, no wait, that's the other one. This
That's the
one
other
is
one.
his. If
Okay.
you actually go onto his X profile, he has a link where you can
Okay.
actually um sign up to take part, and it's a great one.
Cool.
Um but yeah, so Ninja Guy, we have definitely met. We will meet more. Um and overall, he said, let's see, I've never seen your channel.
Oh,
What's the video
Severin.
you're
Yeah, that's a
what's
good question.
yeah, what is your favorite video? The one you're just like
Uh,
nailed it.
my favorite video that is on my channel is for Lucky Fish Bread. It is I think it's still on App Lab experience where you are basically at a food cart making these little fish pastries with filling in them. And there's a actual place in Bay Area where you can get those pastries. And my wife and I went to one of those places and got the pastries. So I sampled the pastries while I was playing the game in the video, and it was a really unique video. That was one I really enjoyed making. So that's the one I would recommend checking out. It's probably not the best video on earth, but it's the one I'm most proud of.
Actually sounds cool. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. How long ago was that?
Gosh, I have no idea. It was during the program, so probably sometime in the last 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. So as we're kind of getting down to the wind down here, one question that is the spiciest question on the planet is Virtual Boy,
Oh
VR
yeah.
or not?
Okay.
I love this question because the
So
answers you get are so everywhere.
so it's called Virtual Boy,
Yes.
and you can play all 22 of those games on a
23 if you count
quest.
Street Fighter.
Hyper fighting account, I count it.
Okay.
And okay, if we're counting hyper fighting, anyway, I could keep going. Uh, the games can be considered VR. The device was a 3D device.
That is probably the best way I've ever had it explained because you have the very much no and the yes. So it's always a very fun question to ask. But actually, I think you're right. That that definitely makes sense because I look at some stuff and like Tarot Boxer, like that would be like a VR type experience.
Absolutely.
But then you look at like like Wario, and that's just uh like the movie, like kind of like the movie where you're talking about, where it's kind of just a 3D experience.
Yep.
Totally makes sense. Virtual
Um,
Boy gave Beavis an instant headache.
well, yeah, but
Oh,
that's part of
Arbor.
the experience.
I forgot
Uh,
Jadon asked me about that a long time ago. Our zone.
I have to admit I've never tried an R zone. I know what it is. It's basically like a single eye Virtual Boy.
Hmm.
But I never tried it. Um, the game that I would recommend if you do pick up a Virtual Boy emulator for Quest or any other VR device is it's called Bound High. It was a prototype, so it's available. You can just download it on the internet legally. Not a
No
don't have
asterisks
to go
here.
anywhere. Yeah, yeah. So it's really good, and it is the closest to a VR title because you basically play as this bouncing ball, and it's going up and down. So you've got the depth there the whole time. Uh, really good game, and it's sad because like I could see that it could potentially have been one of the system sellers for Virtual Boy, but it was too late basically for that.
Yeah, I still actually go back and play mine, I think once every couple months.
Me too.
Um, and it's you lose the color red for a little bit, but it's okay. It was a lot
They
of fun.
actually they made new ribbon cables that you can actually switch the color with.
Hmm.
I've never tried it. Like I don't have one, but I've tried it at expos. Somebody had their set to blue, and it was a little bit easier to play for some reason. I
Hmm.
don't know if that would make a difference in the real world, like on a regular basis. I only used it for like 10 minutes, and it was to play hyper fighting because they had a two-player hyper fighting going. But yeah, it was interesting. So I don't know. Maybe a color tint might make it so that people don't get a headache in 10 minutes and it's more tolerable.
Yeah, I've heard about these mods. I'm just too afraid to take mine apart.
Yeah, mine
'Cause
works. I don't want to mess with it.
yeah, it's like I don't have, the vertical line that everybody
Yep,
has and all that.
me
And it's
either.
just like I don't want to buy another one because it's too expensive and I don't know what I'm getting. So, all right, well, cool. So, um, before we wrap all this up, as I mentioned earlier, if you are a VR content creator, or even not just VR content, you cover a little bit of other stuff. Feel free to drop it into our VR content creator chat. We would love to see it. Um, and also, so today we are actually going to have a play session immediately after, and we will be playing Iron Strike. It's part of the Summerfest free weekend, as I mentioned earlier. So make sure to pop in and come hang out with us. Our next AMA will be in the beginning of September. It was originally going to be later this month, but Gamescom's coming up and all sorts of stuff. So we will actually have the developers of Power Wash Simulator on.
Nice.
Um, I believe it's I can 100% make sure because I'll be making the event invite tomorrow. We will. I think it's 9/6, so September 6th at our normal time. It's going to be great. We're going to have a few folks in, and we can't wait. And hopefully, you all will be there. Remember, we have weekly play sessions, so keep an eye on our events calendar. Um, and Eric, if you want to type your channel in, or you can tell folks what the name of your channel is here so that they make sure to go and sub to you and keep an eye on all the awesome stuff that you make.
I have typed into chat. My YouTube channel is my name, Erik Hartley, because it was there before I did any VR stuff. So yeah, it was great seeing all of you in chat and answering your questions. I do pop into the community Discord from time to time. I have a crazy day job, so I'm not around as often as I'd like to be. But if you ever have questions, things of that nature, feel free to hit me up as well, whether it be about content creation, certain experiences, things of that nature. Because definitely want to see this community continue to grow and thrive. So great to have you all here.
All right, cool. Well, we were very happy to have you here, as well as all of our guests and audience members. I call you all guests as well. So thank you very much. And until the next one, we'll see you all soon.